in trying to ram through debate and discussion on a bill that it was actually still being written, there were some amazing little tidbits that came to light. 3 of them I want to focus on. But first off, here is Representative Jim McGovern of Massachusetts, who I really thought brought some good heat to the interrogation of his Republican colleagues about this massive budget bill.
You're slashing benefits from children, from seniors living on fixed incomes, from veterans who served this country and now rely on food assistance just to get by. And why? And why? So that the top 0.1%, people making over $3.5 million a year, can pocket $314,000 a year in new tax giveaways.
Okay, so we've talked about this because the actor Simu Liu, when the budget bill was sort of announced a little bit ago, he was like, I don't need a tax break, but because I make more than $3 million a year, I mean, he didn't say exactly what he made, but he was like, I'm going to get this tax break and I'm going to donate every single penny of it to charity, to organizations. So this is if you're making over 3.3 million. Now, if you're making over 3.3 million and you're listening, please update your pledge. Okay. You can upgrade it. You can give more a month. Like fly me somewhere fun, but most of us do not make that money. We don't make within come on, like an oil tanker with that amount of money, within that amount of money, 314. So their tax break, $314,000 a year is more than I'm assuming most of us make, but that's how much they want to avoid paying in taxes. This is who this budget bill will help. And what's freaking crazy right now, guys, is like, MAGA's doing an incredible job of selling this to their people. Everyone's in favor of tax breaks, but because, they eat paint chips, known as Fox News propaganda, they think that they're going to get the tax break, even if they're not making $3 million a year. Like, in what world? And it's only because these are such rubes that they think that maybe but next year I'm definitely going to make 3 million, right? Like that is who MAGA preys upon. And it's also this, they love to be fake populists because they're so allergic to the working class. There's nothing wrong with making $30,000 a year or 40 or 50 or whatever it is, right? Unless you can't make ends meet. The only thing wrong with not being wealthy is when you can't actually afford your rent or food or your health care. That is the problem. And this is a problem we consistently put on poor people. Well, that's on you. You should really get a different job. Well, it's your fault for not sucking it up. You should get another job. You should get 3 jobs. Why do you need assistance anyway? Work requirements, even if you're disabled. No. So again, rather than saying there's no shame in not making $3 million a year and no shame in saying I probably won't be a millionaire in my lifetime. Like there's no shame in that. There's power in that, in fact. Anyway, there's more. He's great. I don't know all of where McGovern stands, but this was excellent.
I mean, you are literally taking food off kids' plates to buy Elon Musk another yacht. I guess he's getting a good return on his campaign donations, but I just find this whole thing disgusting. And look, at the end of the day, this is simple. It is simple. It's about whose side you're on. You guys wrote this bill for the top 0.1%. You wrote it for the billion-dollar corporations who offshore jobs and dodge taxes. You wrote it for the big oil and big pharma CEOs who rip people off. You wrote it for the rich and famous, for the people who never, ever have to worry about where their next meal is coming from or how to take care of their elderly parents. So you guys picked a side, okay? You picked the billionaires. I get it. You want to betray the people who voted for you. You want to sell them out because Trump told you to. But guess what? Democrats are picking a side too. And we are siding with the vast, vast, vast majority of Americans who you are going to screw over with this bill. We are siding with the 14 million parents and grandparents who are going to get kicked off health care if this monstrosity passes. We're siding with struggling families who are already having a hard time buying groceries, and the farmers whose incomes will drop because you're gutting the nutrition programs to create demand for the food that they grow, and the rural grocery stores that they support.
So he's talking about SNAP benefits. He's talking about the fact that SNAP often give subsidies or a lot of to farms who grow food for specifically SNAP benefits, people who get, have food stamps and whatnot. And again, like, it's so wild how much Republicans are shooting themselves in the foot. Now, a lot of the cuts to Medicare and Medicaid, specifically, and SNAP benefits, I think apparently won't actually go into effect until Trump's technically termed out of office. But of course, who knows? He'll try to stay, or JD Vance will run, or some, sorry centrist Democrat will have all of it land on their lap and not fight against it. If the streets or our progressive movements have anything to say about it. But that's a little interesting, like, oh, we're not gonna cut it now. We're gonna cut it in the future so it lands on an ostensible Democrat's lap, but we'll be able to, find the money for the tax cuts in order to get it across the finish line with our Republican colleagues. Like, that's all they want to do, right? So again, they love to do this. They love to set up Democratic presidencies and administrations and congressional, Congresses for this kind of stuff. So we have to make sure they can't do that. But yeah, it's a wealth transfer. It is a wealth transfer. Oh, I was going to say, and the rural, look out, rural America is about to have a mad awakening. Like, they are going to be very radicalized. Not that I think that rural America gets overly painted as red when there are, I think it's more complicated than that. But in the next 4 years, holy shit, there's going to be an activation among rural Americans over precisely this kind of stuff.
And the nurses who will lose their jobs when you start closing down rural hospitals. That's who we're siding with, and that's who we choose to fight for. Now, I've seen a lot in my time in Congress. I've seen my fair share of bad bills, but this takes the cake. This is not policy. This is theft. It is a direct transfer of wealth from the working and middle class to the ultra wealthy, and it's being done on purpose and under the cover of night.
So under the cover of night is sort of an important point there, because he talks about it like it was 1 a.m. That's how chicken shit they are of what, who's tuning into C-SPAN anyway? If you did this at 6 p.m., I mean, maybe MSNBC or CNN would air some of this, but here's McGovern also on that very fact.
Madam Chair, before we get into the substance here, I've got a simple question. What the hell are Republicans so afraid of? What the hell are you so scared of that you guys are holding this hearing at 1 o'clock in the morning? It's a simple question that speaks to the heart of what's going on here, and one that I'm going to keep on asking. If Republicans are so proud of what is in this bill, then why are you trying to ram it through in the dead of night? If you guys are so proud to kick 14 million people off Medicaid, if you guys are so proud to rip food assistance out of the refrigerators of moms and dads and their kids, if you guys are so proud of shutting down rural hospitals and hurting our farmers, if you guys really think these are such great, awesome, beautiful things to do, like Trump keeps saying, then why not hold this hearing at 1 p.m. and not 1 a.m.? Why not debate this bill in prime time when most of the American people can watch?
Because they're scared.
It's 1 o'clock in the morning, I think it's prime time in Guam. Madam Chair, before we
prime time in Guam, yeah, I mean, the Guamanians also deserve they were probably upset as shit. Here's the real thing with this bill. Not only 10.3 million people possibly will lose their Medicaid, but not only are they too afraid to debate it during the daylight, which is just so funny to me, but there are two things that we should specifically name, which is that it also gives tax breaks or rescinds the taxes on tanning beds. That's right. They are trying to get tanning beds and tanning salons, give them a tax break. This is from Newsweek. They want to make tanning salons cheaper. House Republicans are pushing for legislation that would repeal the federal excise tax on indoor tanning services that's been in place under the ACA since 2010, which is just kind of very funny. I love Barack Obama's signature legislation is nah, you can't be as dark as me. You know what I'm saying? The first black president is calm down. these over-tanners. Also kind of like shots fired preemptively at Donald Trump. On Monday, the House Ways and Means Committee released the draft of an expansive tax and spending package dubbed One Big Beautiful Bill. They literally called it that, you guys. They straight up called it that. One proposal calls for repealing the excise tax on indoor tanning services, which was originally implemented to help fund the ACA and discourage the use of indoor tanning. Why it matters? Because the CDC was like, yeah, no, this is bad for you. Although, I mean, you tell me, how does RFK Jr. maintain that leathery sheen? Is it because he's like outside with a mirror, or does he also do tanning beds? Is that what happens when you're like so roided up? I don't know. Under the current law, tanning services are defined as any service using equipment that incorporates ultraviolet lamps intended for skin tanning. The 10% excise tax is applied to the total cost of those services. The proposed legislation, if it passes, the repeal will take effect immediately upon enactment. The IRS notes that the tax applies to any indoor tanning service, including those offered at fitness centers and other facilities. Some small business owners have criticized the tax, arguing it has led to a declining revenue and increased financial strain. And the reason is because it's bad for you. That tanning that much leads to melanoma. So that's why it was like, hey, you know, I mean, and you could call it a regressive tax. I don't know. It comes down on the consumer. But you could also argue that like anyone who's got the money to do a tanning bed and the time, let's be real, probably has that money. It's not like a soda tax. And you know, Trump is like, when I need to tan, you know, I want to make it cheaper for everyone to look as disgusting as me. The other thing that they're repealing in this bill, the thing that they are taking out, is a tax on gun silencers. Okay, so like what people in assassins in movies use. Even didn't the guy who attempted on Trump's life, didn't he use a silencer? Here we go. Here is Representative Horsford.
I'm disgusted that Republicans would include in their Screw Americans bill this provision. And I really want to ask, who asked for this? Was it the assassin lobby? I'm disgusted.
I mean, that's solid. Is it the Assassin's Lobby? And the answer is kind of like, yeah, dog. Like, it is kind of the Assassin's Lobby. I mean, it's the homosexual pro-gun lobby, but like, also, isn't this an administration that's making it far easier, albeit everything they're saying about immigrants being, you know, sex traffickers and whatnot, they are getting rid of restrictions on gun sellers for doing background checks. Basically, if you sell to someone who is later involved in any, or no, specifically involved in like cartel or gang activity, and you did not perform a background check on that person, which showed that they might have had a criminal record, that comes down on you. Trump got rid of those, got rid of that stipulation, which, by the way, was only as recent as like 2021, 22. It was a Biden policy around guns. It was like, hey, maybe don't sell to the sex traffickers, or the cartels, all the people that you sort of fearmonger about. But they're like, nope. So you think I'm joking, but that's very much what's happening. Also, the crypto scheme is emboldening the black market, emboldening the dark web, emboldening, you know, again, would-be traffickers, assassins, and the like. And so, but in terms of the tanning beds, because it's more fun, here's that representative speaking about the tanning beds.
Would you please, so that the American public knows what this bill does, one of the little things that it does, would you please read page 901, line 20?
I think it'd be better if you read it.
Oh, he doesn't want to read it. I'll read it.
I know the
actually,
ranking
member Moore, ranking member Moore
here, so you can read it.
It was a question if you would read it, so I'll ask ranking member Moore to read the text. This is in their bill. They don't want to read a line from their own bill. Ranking member.
I don't want to read the bill for you. I'll help you out. I am.
I don't want to read the bill for you. No, it's because you're being mean to me and I don't want to read it for you. I can read, but I'm not going to read. My girlfriend is real, but like she's busy right now because she lives in Guatemala.
Testifying about this legislation, I'm not going to read the bill to you.
Okay, I am. This is amazing.
Ms. Lager Fernandez, shall I pass this back or shall I read it for you?
Why don't you just read it?
I am a member of this committee. I am the
Line 20.
ranking vice chair of
There
the
you go.
committee. Says section 111106, repeal of excise tax on indoor tanning services.
So they're going to they're repealing an excise tax on tanning beds. They're repealing a tax on silencers. At the same, so they're going to, okay, so if you have a tanning bed, you get a little bit of a tax break. And if you need a hospital bed in rural America, I'm sorry, you're out of luck.
Ooh, okay. Some Democrats have some fire quotes, R.I.P. Gerry Connolly, but there's some Democrats are still kicking. They're still fighting for it. They're still earning the vote of their constituents. And to that point, member of the show, longtime patron, Rachel Atwood, coming in with the Jim McGovern's my rep at a town hall earlier this spring. He called for a general strike. Jim and Ayanna are the two reliably progressive reps in Massachusetts. That's great. That's really, really good. I'm like, where does he stand on Israel? Do we know? But it's awesome. I mean, look, on the other side of the aisle, you have Representative Miller Meeks, who was apparently promising that she would not strip Medicaid away from her people. And now she gets called out by, so I think this is basically the Save Medicaid. I think the organization is just called Save Medicaid, I believe. But they have been living in Congress for the last, 3 months. And bird dogging the hell out of these representatives, as they should be. Here, I think, is one of the main leaders of that endeavor, who also, by the way, they help organize, those folks that we saw who are wheelchair bound, who are disabled. They've been organizing this back all the way back when the first Trump administration came into power, and they were threatening to cut Medicaid, right? And ultimately, because of the reaction and the blowback and the town halls, they had to forego that, at least in the way they wanted to.
Congresswoman, I was wondering if you would just talk to us on your way over to the conference meeting.
No, running.
Last time you spoke with us, you lied to our face and said that you weren't going to vote for Medicaid cuts. But then you've actually voted for the largest cuts to Medicaid in the history of the country. Do you have any comments on that? Do you have any comments on the 4 hospitals in your district that are going to close because of your vote?
He's coming with the 4 hospitals in your district that are going to close. Remember, a lot of hospitals, especially in rural areas or underserviced areas, rely on Medicaid funds, in part because the private health insurance industry is so effed that they're not it's like, who's going to invest in that hospital when they're not making enough money. They're not turning around patients enough. That is in part why Medicaid does matter, is because it does get care to places that are more remote or rural areas, or places where people don't have a lot of funds, or you're not going to be gouging folks left and right and getting away with it, right? That's the point. I mean, that's in a way, again, remember, Medicaid is a stopgap, but it is saying, okay, in effect, the reason we fight for universal health care also is because taxpayers are on the line for, the most vulnerable in our country, which, fair or unfair, I think it's important that those people have access to health care, but it's also kind of a reprieve for the private health insurance industry that doesn't want to care for the disabled, or wants to price gouge them, or wants to kill them with bills, that doesn't want to care for, new mothers or poor kids. That's the point. That's why Medicaid was created in the first place, right? It takes out the highest risk pool to put it in, whatever, again, private insurance terms. Here she is. She can't even, my man is coming with receipts for hospitals in your district. Here we go.
Representative Miller Meeks, I'm wondering if you have any comment on the health care that 67,000 people in your district are going to lose?
67,000 people. Dude comes with receipts for how many people are on Medicaid in her district. 67,000. That's a sizable chunk of voters right there.
Does it concern you that you only won by 800 votes?
Oh, wait. How many votes did she win by? What did he say? 100 or 800?
800 votes. Does it concern you that you only won by 800 votes?
I can't hear whether it was 800 or something, but he goes, 67,000 people will be kicked off of Medicaid in your district. Does it concern you? You only won by, I think it was something like 800 votes. Beautiful trolling. Beautiful trolling. She is, just say something. Say anything. Say anything. I mean, I don't know. The only reason you don't say anything is because you're full of shame, as they should be. What's going on, Frantifa? If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that button. And also, you can become a patron and support the show every single week. Get access to bonus episodes and exclusive merchandise. Patreon.com/bitchuation room. Do